Hi, it's the No Vacancy News robot again. Did you know there is a hotel in Bolivia made completely out of salt, and licking the walls is strictly forbidden?
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, Glenn Hausman back here from the No Vacancy News Network, and I am with someone I happen to be a big fan of, and that's Mr. Rupesh Patel. He's a hotel owner, executive, and founder of SmartGuest.com. But the reason why I'm such a fan of Rupesh's and why I like to have him on the show, but not enough, I know I got to have him on more, is because you're like, Rupesh, you're like the consummate hotelier's hotelier. You're not just looking after your business, you're trying to help other hoteliers find a lot of success out there, and you're just all about spreading that positive energy and love, which is why I think you're such a fun guest.
Hey, listen, thank you so much for having me on. I'm a fan of yours, so I'm excited. I think I was on about a year or two ago, and it was fun. So I'm
too
happy
long
to be
ago.
on again.
I know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know what my problem is. I don't know why
We should do this every week.
Right? I think we should. I think we could totally create a Rupesh and Glenn employee empowerment type of a show.
We should. Listen,
right?
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So, all right. So you have smartguest.com, but really what we're talking about here is creating smart employees, right? One of the things that I'm finding right now is there seems to be a lot of disengagement from employees out there. As a matter of fact, just this past week, I did a major presentation at a hotel company's annual leadership conference, all about the whole notion of thinking like an owner, how to be able to utilize that and empower your employees so they feel like they're actually part of their community and have it be real and not lip service. What are you seeing right now about the state of engagement or disengagement with folks at the property level in the hospitality universe?
So it's all over the place right now. The hotel industry is blowing up. It's hot right now. It's probably at the peak. And so, there's a lot of hiring and then turnover and just a little bit of everything. And then, the labor market's tightened up like crazy. And so, it's hard to find good employees and then keep them on because they're looking for the next step and moving, up or wherever they're going, right? So it's hard to find that person to stay at your property. But then when you find them, it's hard to keep them on because you don't have, a lot of hotels don't have this training program and this ongoing coaching that is valuable to our staff, right? And to us as owners. I
got to tell you, I like the word coaching more than training. It has a different point of view to it as far as I'm concerned.
It does. It's not like you're just yelling at them like you did this and you did the wrong thing. But hey, listen, I noticed that you did this, but how about the next time we try this because this is why it could improve or this is why it could help. Like if that guest is coming to you and they're yelling at you and that new employee's like, oh God, and they just shut down, right? And you've noticed that as a GM or as a front desk manager or supervisor, you can say, listen, I noticed that you got flustered or this happened, and next time try this and try saying these words, and that's coaching instead of just saying you sucked at this one thing, right? And so I love that concept, and I'm sharing that across LinkedIn, but across our teams too, because it's valuable, and we see that employees grow that way, right? Your team grows that way when you're sharing ideas, not just telling them what to do.
So let me just, share some statistics for the audience members out there. The hospitality industry is running more than 6% average turnover per month. That's over 75% on an annualized basis, which is huge. And for line-level employees, it's costing well over $3,000 each and every time someone walks out that door personally before you could bring in a new person and get that individual up to speed. So it's important to get your staff to really love the job and love you and create a culture that's within the confines of that hotel that gets people to not say, I'm going to go down the block to another hotel for a quarter more an hour. Right, Rupesh?
Exactly. And a lot of it comes from mindset, but then it also comes from appreciation, right? A lot of times you just work at this one thing and the front desk person just may be working or the housekeeper is just working. But guess what? They never feel appreciated. Even that simple thank you or that one little thing that could help them improve their self-worth. Right. And I think that's huge as far as like, hey, thank you so much. You did an awesome job. Notice people, right? Notice your team doing great things. When we're showing an employee or a new employee when they're coming on how to do things. I see a lot of times where they're just yelling and I'm like, oh, you didn't do this right, or you didn't do this. But hey, how about the other opposite side about really, acknowledging them, like, hey, you did an awesome job. It was awesome to see that you really engaged and made this guest really happy. You turned them around. You recovered them from this one bad situation, right? And when you thank them, they feel like, oh, I'm appreciated, right? And I feel like in life, if you're not appreciated, you start getting stale, right?
Yeah, it really does. And the appreciation thing goes a long way. In fact, from the research that I've done on this topic, if you're going to give an employee some sort of criticism, and I hope it falls into the constructive category as opposed to making them just feel bad about themselves, well, for every one constructive criticism that you provide, you need to provide 6 or so positive reinforcements. That gets the person comfortable. It makes them feel loved and accepted in the hospitality environment and makes them receptive to hearing that feedback in a way that will actually make them a more loyal employee.
Absolutely. Just thanking them. Hey, thank you so much for what you do. Right. It's even owners like, hey, sometimes I want to be appreciated. Like, hey, thank you so much for doing this one thing, or thanks for doing this. Or thanks
good
for
luck with
giving me
that.
a job. Right.
Yeah. Huh? Good luck with that.
No, it's true. Like everybody in life just wants to be appreciated. They want to fit into this one group, or they want to fit it into with some idea or some, group, I think. Really, and the hotel group it's kind of like your family. You see them more than you see your kids or your husband and wife, right? Or your girlfriend.
Right.
You're there all day long. Sometimes you might work a shift, but hey, sometimes you might work a double, which is 16 hours, right?
Right.
And so this team that you're working with, you got to feel appreciated. It's kind of like your little family away from your family, right?
Yeah, and in some ways it's even more so the family, getting to just what you said. You spend so many times with those people. That's another thing. Interpersonal relationships within the office or the hotel for staff is so super critical. It binds them together and makes them feel like they're part of a community. It makes them want to do a better job. But Rupesh, in your job as an owner of hotels and talking to teams around the country, I know you do a lot of training and trying to get folks to be the best professionals that they can be. What are the biggest issues that you're seeing, and what are some of the solutions that you think you can provide to get people to really feel that hospitality spirit to serve?
So like we talked about, it's training, coaching, giving them the tools, because a lot of hotels are like, we need to do this, but we don't give them the tools to actually do it. So
yeah, I'm meaning more specific. Could you give me some example of some of the tools, some specific real life examples that you've been able to perhaps get people all excited that have made a big difference to the hotel's bottom line after some time?
Yeah, absolutely. So a simple idea of just training, right? Hotels, for the most part, some hotels do a really good job. They're on point. They do it quarterly, or they do it often, right? With teams or with the entire department or with the entire staff. We train every quarter. So once a quarter, we get everybody together and we train about certain topics, especially customer service, guest satisfaction. We look at our reviews. We look at a little bit of everything, and we train on different topics throughout the year. And so that's something that we as hotel owners should be implementing and putting as far as a budget together. Hey, we're going to pay you to come to the trainings, right? We're going to provide food. We're going to make it fun. And some of these things.
Hey, I'm in.
Yeah, do a simple thing, pizza party, right? Or contact the business next door that's a restaurant. They're willing to give you free food just for referring guests over throughout the whole year, right? $50 is not going to be a big thing to them, right? So make some contacts within your local area, and you could put a party together or a meeting together within a week or so or less.
So let me break that down. That's a pretty creative idea right there. So you're leveraging the partnerships you have within the community to make your staff feel more loved. And the thing is that they might wind up supporting that business as well in the future. So it's a real good thing that makes it work for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a whole sales and marketing tactic that you could do there. But just going back to the training and coaching, get everybody together. Put them in one room, because when's the last time everyone's gotten into one room? It's probably like during the holiday party, right? Oh, we're going to have a holiday party, but then we're also going to do this training before. And I've seen that happen in the past. We used to do it. I used to make the mistake of actually saying, all right, we're going to have a holiday party. It's going to be from 1 to 4 p.m. But guess what? at 11, you're going to come in and we're going to train you for 2 hours. And
right.
it's two
Sounds
different
fun.
mindsets, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so I made that mistake in the past, and we don't do that anymore. We do it quarterly, where we have the entire team on board, train them, they feel good, and during the trainings, we're talking about a lot of key things that are bringing business to our hotel. How do you engage with guests when they're coming in, when they're checking in, when they're checking out, during breakfast, when they're walking into the lobby, right? Especially housekeepers. Housekeepers are really shy. Like you walk by a housekeeper in a hotel hallway, and they're like hiding, right? They go back into their room because they're afraid.
Oh, they're shy. I just thought they hated me. That explains a lot.
Well, they hate you because you ask for towels and soap all day long.
All right. That's a good point. Usually, I'm so shy, too. I wait until they duck into a room, and then I just help myself off the cart. But don't tell anyone.
Oh, you're one of those guests. What happened to our cart?
I just don't like talking to people or any sorts of confrontation at all in my life, which seems weird considering the career choice I've taken. But, yeah, that's
you do a good job. I've seen you in public. You do an awesome job. So, housekeepers, that's one big thing. Like, how do you get the mindset and the confidence of a housekeeper to really engage? We talk about these things like, hey, you know what? If you don't speak English, say it in your language.
Right.
If you don't have to open up a whole conversation. Good morning. How was your stay? How are you doing? Right? Simple ideas.
Hey, look, just an hola, senor makes me feel good about myself. And then you know what? I will smile. I may say something back in Spanish based on the limited Spanish I've managed to contain since college in me, or at least something that will create some sort of positive feedback loop between two people in the hotel, right? I'll feel better as a guest. Him or her in the housekeeping will feel better as an individual and probably pay that forward to somebody else on staff or another guest and might even feel a little bit better about getting their job done that day.
Yeah, so our job as leaders and managers is to get your team to be open, to have more confidence in themselves, because a lot of people in life are really shy and their confidence is low. So our job is during these trainings, like, hey, get everybody up and show them how to do it, and then let them role play. Role play is a huge part of the training, right? When you're doing these when you're doing these quarterly trainings, it gets everybody's confidence up, and it shows them that everybody can do it. It's not just one person that's awesome at service, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to do that role play, and it is essential. But one of the issues that I see with role play is that everybody is so freaking shy, they want to let other people do it. They don't want to participate in it. So how do you orient people to feel more comfortable that they could have a real organic experience as opposed to going through the motions or doing what they think you want them to do?
So, shy people, and I was a shy person in the past, and
we both were.
I'm an introvert.
Same here.
But I've learned to be an extrovert, right?
Right.
And it's a learned skill, right? It's not you just woke up one day and you're automatically.
It took me forever in order to learn that skill, and I bet you're like me. At the end of a day, you just want to go back and be left alone, and you need that time to recharge, right?
Yeah. There's days I'm like, you know what? I don't need the social media stuff that I do all day long and every day, right? But yeah, it's a learned skill,
right?
As far as getting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. And so the more you do it, the more you do these trainings, the more you stand people up and say, hey, listen, if this person could do it, try it. Try standing up and saying one thing, right? Say the simple idea, and then everybody gets up and everybody has to answer, right? If you get the entire team on board,
right,
everybody has to say something instead of just picking people that are shy, right? One thing that I love doing, and we do this quarterly, is let's say after the end of our session, after the end of our training, we nominate 2 people, right? We say, all right, we're nominating 2 people to speak about something. It needs to be a life lesson that you need to stand up for the next meeting and you talk about. It could be talking about how to make tamales, because there are some housekeepers that we've had potluck dinners and they've brought in some tamales, and I'm like, oh my God, I want that recipe because I'm sure we could make it at home, right? Simple things, life lessons that you can help somebody boost their confidence, right? And these life lessons they already know, so they're just standing up and talking about it. So we nominate 2 people.
All right.
And
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is really important, Rupesh. I'm thinking the next time you do that, I come down, I get the tamale recipes, and I'll give some matzo ball recipes to them. We'll do a little cultural exchange there.
Listen, and I love pizza, and I make fresh pizza at home. So
Nice.
I will share that pizza recipe, which I've done with a lot of people, and we'll have a party.
I love it. So I don't mean to keep distracting you. You're making some absolutely great points here. So what else do you need to do in order to make people feel extremely comfortable in that training environment?
Have food, like I said in the past.
Yeah.
It opens about food brings people together, right?
Yeah.
Definitely have some good food. Definitely have open conversations. Start off with a lot of positivity, and get people on board with videos, right? I show videos. So one of my favorite persons online, and he does a great job at customer service, is Shep Hyken. He does an amazing job with just all these videos, right, on YouTube. He just posts them up for free. They're 5-10 minute clips on just one idea.
Mm-hmm.
Show a couple videos, get everybody involved, get people to really understand a concept. And if you don't know as a general manager how to convey a concept over to your team, right? And there's a lot of new general managers that were front desk supervisors now that are general managers because they've worked up the way, but they don't maybe have that sense of training or really speaking about a certain topic. And that's when you can go to videos and keep people engaged. It's not just one person standing in the front of the room telling people what to do, but getting like your front desk supervisor involved or getting somebody in housekeeping to show an idea of how to engage, right? It's not just you talking, but getting everybody involved shows that you're a team, not just one person kind of throwing out rules, right?
Right. And by giving people that sense of participation and ownership of it, they'll become much more engaged the entire process, and I think overall be a much better employee. One of the issues that you were talking about is constantly giving positive feedback to people. Does that include rewarding your staff with anything, either, I don't know, gift certificates, gift cards, days off, whatever it might be?
There's incentive programs galore. You can do a million things. You can do things that keep your team happy, right? And what we do really well is have an incentive program for different departments, right? The front desk that it really engages with our guests are getting a incentive when something happens as far as a review or some kind of feedback. Housekeeping might get a incentive if something happens with our service scores or cleanliness or some of those things. So that keeps people motivated too. Money talks. Listen, I had a hotel a couple weeks ago, or actually a month ago. They were really failing on their service scores, like reds across the board. And this property just got
like it could lose your brand, like bad service scores, right?
Yeah, or it costs you money on your QA because QA, your service scores are now part of your QA process, right? Mm-hmm. And so this hotel was just getting straight reds across the board, 5s and belows. And I said, listen, and it was coming from housekeeping for the most part. It wasn't coming from the front desk as far as the department. I said, how do we incentivize this team? Because if you think about it, housekeepers, they didn't choose to be a housekeeper because they love it, right? They fell into it just like all the other hotel positions, right? You fell into working the front desk. You fell into whatever you do, right? So I said, for them, they should be incentivized by extra money because I'm sure they want that money that's going to drive them to maybe push a little bit harder. And so we said, listen, I'll put a bucket of $500 into a pot. And every time you get a 5 or below, $50 comes out of that pot. So think about if you're sharing with 5 or 7 housekeepers at the end of the month. If you had perfect scores or had a good score, you all shared this money, right?
Right.
So this hotel just paid out $87, or I think it was like $75 or something like that dollars just this past week. And it was cool because since we implemented that, and we kind of said, listen, you guys need to step up. You're going to lose your job or you're going to step up and we're going to really take care of you, right? And those two things combined made them improve drastically. So it went from a bunch of reds, which are like 0s to 5s, starting, and it started at it went up from 6 to 10s.
Wow.
Overnight. Like you could it looked like there was a wall that they just jumped over and it was happiness. And it was awesome because you really got them involved. You got them looking at scores. So everybody started logging in and looking at their service scores weekly, and the house or the manager would post those on the wall and say, listen, you guys are doing a great job, and keeping them motivated. Right. So they were like, well, we're going to earn that $500. We're going to earn that $500. And we did the same thing with the GM. We said, listen, we're going to incentivize you too, to incentivize the other teams. Right. So money talks, right?
Right. And some people might be balking at, oh, I'm going to have to spend that kind of money. Think about the money it will cost you if you don't have a smart program in place to get those amazing service scores, right? So fines from the brand or losing your flag, all those things that cost a lot of money. And I'm thinking just about if you don't have a great housekeeping department, you're not even going to be able to charge the rates your competition is charging, and you're losing much, much more than you would have spent by just motivating your team.
Yeah, and service scores, I don't mean just like being nice to somebody. I'm talking about cleanliness, right? Like cleanliness can happen overnight. It could change from like being really bad to really good if you have some processes and some incentives put into place. And we did that and overnight. I'm like, oh my God. And this team's been amazing this last month at doing it. And so things like that, you have to keep them motivated, because it's not just talking to them and it's not just showing them, but it's really standing behind your word and at the end of the day, you have to put some money down, because your competition is going to take them if not, right?
Yeah. Now, Rupesh is the real deal. The properties that he owns regularly win big awards from the brands for being so freaking awesome. So you should be listening to everything he is saying right now. Rupesh, looking forward, things are changing. We're losing some of the traditional touch points, and we're really reinventing the way that we connect with customers at the property level. Once you've got your great team in place and motivated, what is it that really is exciting guests that doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but makes them feel that they're loved and part of the community of that hotel?
So hospitality, we're in the hospitality business, right? So that's engaging, it's talking, it's not just all tech. Guests want to maybe go straight to their room like Hilton or some of these other brands are implementing. But there's also the time where guests are coming back down and having breakfast at your restaurant or your buffet or something where they're coming back down to the front desk. And that's that's an opportunity for everybody. It's an opportunity for the GM. I always tell, I talk to a lot of GMs weekly through my coaching and training that I do on the other side, and we'll talk about it later, but it's amazing to say, this GM will say, listen, my service scores are down and I need help. I said, if you really want your service scores to go up, do one thing: spend time at breakfast. When you walk into the hotel, drop your stuff off in your office or wherever you put it, go straight to the lobby, go straight to the breakfast area, restaurant, go talk to every single person that you can for 2 hours. I guarantee you, and get feedback. Don't just talk to them like, hey, how was your stay? Right. Get feedback and fix their problem or learn how their stay was. I guarantee you can improve your scores just by engaging, and not just, hey, how are you doing? How's breakfast? No, asking questions like, what's one thing that you really enjoyed? Or what's one thing that you hated? Or what's one thing that you would change, right? Things like that a GM has to do, or somebody at a supervisor or manager level comes in and does that at the desk or at the hotel, will overnight jump their scores.
But I'll tell you what, you're absolutely right. When you ask a question like, how is breakfast? The average guest is going to say, yeah, it's fine. Thanks. They may love it. They may freaking hate it more than anything. Chances are, if it's me, I'm in more of the hate it category for your average hotel breakfast. But when you ask more pointed questions that are designed to give you an honest answer, that opens you up to really being able to get real actionable insight that can improve your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so GMs, listen up, GMs. If you want your service scores to jump overnight, spend 5 days straight, and then do this weekly, right? Get to when you have a day or two off, or if you have a day off, because you're working 70 hours a week or 100 hours a week. Do this one thing. Stop the other stuff. You can do the other stuff later. Spend 2 hours in your breakfast at your restaurant and talk to guests and learn what they want, what they need, and how you can fix their problem before they leave.
And you also might be finding out where they come from. Cities, businesses, whatever it is, that might be an opportunity for you to continue to build your business by getting great insight from what is motivating people to stay at your property.
Right. And then, I also love the thing, we do a lot of engagement. We do a lot of question asking at check-in. We engage them when there's a rewards member staying at your property, Hilton Honors, or, any of the rewards programs out there. I created this tool a long time ago, like 7 years ago now. It's a custom candy wrapper. And I think we've talked about this in the past.
I've had them here. You sent them to me. Well, you emailed them to me because that's how cool they are.
Listen, I spent time. I said, listen, Coke is doing it where they're impressing people with their name on a Coke can. I said, why can't we do this for our hotel guests? So 7 years ago, I just created this quick template. You open it up, you type in the guest name, and you present it, right? You have your arrival list. You know all the rewards members that are coming. Print it out, wrap it around a candy bar, and say, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for being a Marriott Bonvoy member. I personally created this for you, and thank you so much for staying. Thank you so much for your loyalty, right? That's so much better than saying, would you like points or would you like this box of goodies, right? It has nothing personalized on it.
Right. It's so funny, and I'm having trouble getting this thought out because it's a weird psychological trip. We all love to just hear our names and be acknowledged with someone going even just a itty bitty teeny tiny bit out of their way. It still gets us excited to hear your name, even if they just looked it up on the screen 10 seconds before. It's an amazing thing that you can do.
Yeah. And so that's been an amazing tool to improve our scores, improve just loyalty. And then guess what? When they see something cool like that, like Coke, you saw people taking pictures of their Coke, Judy or whatever. Yeah. I never saw my name on a Coke can. I looked for a long time.
I don't know. Rupesh is pretty common. I don't know. I always find Glenn's with one N wherever I go to. You remember those keychain racks that they would have at amusement parks, and they would have everyone's name but ours, which is always sad. They would have a Glenn with a one N occasionally, but I think that's why I named my kids Ben and Jake, so I could always get them keychains at those racks.
Smart.
I'm a practical guy.
So look, tools like that personalize, make it personal, right? You're making it super personal. So that's just one thing. Second thing we did was, we could be high touch and high tech and all those things, but at the end of the day, it's hospitality. So we also created this one template. It's called our local favorites, and it's basically a piece of paper.
Right.
We say, and it's everything that. So we sat down and said, listen, team, what are 10 things that everyone's asking you guys after they check in?
All right.
Put them down on a piece of paper, and you say, Mr. Smith, and make sure you type their name in at the top. Copy it from this PMS system. Copy it, and then say, and then sign your name and say, listen, Mr. Smith, I personally made this for you. It's our local favorites, and this is everything that we loved. Make sure you try the dumplings at Mr. Wherever, right? And people love that because their name's on it. It's personalized to them. And now they don't have to call and look around or figure out, because guess what? You're not going to put Pizza Hut or Taco Bell on this. You're going to put the local favorites that are hot spots in your market, right?
Right.
Coming to Orlando, you're not going to put like Olive Garden. You're going to put something that's really unique to this location or this area. And put it on a piece of paper and present it to them. You're doing things before they even ask you. You're anticipating their needs, basically.
Right. Not to besmirch Pizza Huts or Taco Bell or the fabled Pizza Hut Taco Bell combination places, which I really like a lot. But I got to tell you, when I'm in a community, I want to experience the community. I don't want to have any of the food or drink that I typically have when I'm at home. Yeah. And I've been relying on sites like Yelp, for example, but that doesn't necessarily make me feel special or important. And I don't necessarily trust the reviews on some of these third-party sites because they have they're coming from different individual points of view than I am. But if I think a list is curated by the hotel staff based on the stuff that they really, truly love, that's going to connect with me better as a customer. I'm going to go in and enjoy that meal, and I will feel even more connected to the property than I would have if I just walked out my door and did a Yelp search.
Yeah, listen, we get reviews on our TripAdvisor or across any channel that says, I've stayed at XYZ hotel. I've stayed at 5-star luxury hotels. They're treating me like a 5-star luxury hotel, right? It doesn't cost that much more to print out a piece of paper, right? It doesn't cost that much more to hand out a candy bar. It's cheaper than a donut that you serve at your breakfast, right? It's actually probably the same price, but guess what? Which one are they going to remember? The donut that they ate and it probably is gone in like 2 minutes, or that candy wrapper that they took a picture and posted on social media, right? That their friends saw.
I hate to bring it back to some of the bad hotel food, but I got to tell you, the piece of paper typically is more tasty than some of the donuts that I've had at these properties. Yeah. Wrapping up, putting it all in a nice bow. I think that what we're realizing here today is you can make your guests happy. You can make your staff happy, and it doesn't have to be complicated. The small things, the simple things.
People love feeling special, right? No matter what it is. If it's your team, it's your mother, it's somebody. why are we sending out cards, right? Why is all these card stores still popular, right? People are still giving out cards. People are still doing handwritten notes because it's more personal than just sending a text, right? People love feeling special. And then, so it's our job to kind of connect that. I mean, I love texting too. I love all the high tech stuff. But when it comes down to it, if you really connect with somebody, they'll be a customer for life more than just a number. And
it's amazing, just a little tiny bit of effort to do that handwritten note as opposed to sending a text, which people quickly realizing it's probably AI based and not from a human being anyway, right?
Yeah.
So you want to have that real human interactions as we continue to be more focused on technology in our society. That's becoming more important than ever. So, Roop, any incredible last words from you? And then also give us a good shameless plug on how we can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you know what? I talk a lot about customer service, these things that we talked about today on social media. I share probably too much stuff because my GMs get mad at me. They're like, why are you sharing our secrets, right? Why are you sharing all these things that we're known for? But here's the thing. If I gave, not you, Glenn, because I know you do the right thing. If I gave somebody $1 million, right? Would they know what to do with that $1 million, or would they spend it overnight?
Right.
So it's the same thing. I'm providing all this value to you, but it's up to you as an owner, GM, a manager to implement these things and then put it across to your team and really believing in it, right? And that's the mindset that you have to be in. Like, am I just working just to work, or am I working because I actually care about this one thing? I've actually compared some GMs to other GMs, and I'm like, you could tell right away if this one person cares, right? And it's these little things that you're going to do to build a team. It's all these little things that you're going to do to kind of raise your career and show guests and your team and everybody else that you actually care, right? There's two things. It's caring and then actually caring. Do you actually care? And that's the mindset that I share on social. So connect with me. I post too much stuff on LinkedIn. It's a great network of just business professionals that share amazing tools and ideas and strategies. I actually made a URL. So this is one tip. If you want to build your LinkedIn profile and get more followers and get some more marketing across or more engagement or network, I created this thing called Rupesh, RUPESH.co. And it goes directly to my LinkedIn profile.
Ooh.
Simple thing, right? So if I'm like, hey, search for me on LinkedIn, there's a bunch of Rupeshes. There's a bunch of Glens, right?
I remember I had you come to an event once and we had multiple Rupesh Patels at that event. So, it's no joke. You know, if you want to be found, you have to do something different to differentiate yourself. Not many Glenn Hausmans around, although there was an Australian Olympic qualities swimming champion named Glenn Hausman. So I'm just riding on his coattails, so I don't actually have to do any exercise.
Hey, listen, so it's Rupesh.co. I tried buying Rupesh.com, $87,000. I'm going to wait.
What?
$87,000 to buy RUPESH.com.
Wow.
I have RUPESH.co. It goes directly to my LinkedIn. Please connect with me there. I also have a website called smartguests.com. We help your property improve their service scores, build engagement, those templates that we talked about, the custom wrappers. We have all those on the website with great feedback. I think we have close to 3,900 hotels now using our products throughout the nation, including Canada, which is awesome. And by the way, this was just an idea that I had 5 or 6 years ago because my hotel needed help and my hotel was struggling with service scores and reviews. And so I put this thing together and it's helped hundreds of people, thousands of people, and hopefully I can help you guys too. But more than that, I'm just happy to share ideas and connect with you. Glenn, it was awesome hanging out with you.
Yeah, great talking to you. And we're going to have to get you on a lot sooner than another year or so from now. That's for sure. I love talking to Rupesh Patel, and I want to thank all you guys for listening. Follow his advice. If he went from a place that he was unhappy with to a place of unmitigated success, listen to what he has to say. He is going to make a difference in his business and now yours. So thanks for listening. I'll be back next time with another great interview.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. So listen, Red Roof's been using the slogan, genuine relationships, real results, and they've been doing it for a while now. And I've got to tell you, the folks that I've met at Red Roof, that's really not a slogan as much as it is about their character and the way they do business. It's because partnering with Red Roof, well, it gets you significant brand awareness, seasoned management team, and an owner-operator perspective because they manage some 120 properties themselves. And that's in addition to the award-winning marketing department, a richest-in-class loyalty program with more than 3 million members and is least expensive for franchisees to boot. Hey, that's not just what with Red Roof, which has been voted best budget hotel brand by USA Today readers 3 of the past 5 years, but it's also Red Roof Plus, the brand extension that created the upscale economy segment and will be Canada's first introduction to Red Roof with a new property opening soon in Calgary. Be on the lookout for that. And for franchisees looking to get into the explosively fast-growing extended stay market, well, Hometown Studios by Red Roof has more than 50 renovated properties in more than 35 markets. And of course, you've got the Red Collection, a group of mid-scale, unique hotels that are hyper-local and inspired by each city's vibe and culture with brand standards based on consumer wants rather than design mandates. Now, properties are open in Manhattan, Chicago, and Springfield, Illinois, with more coming. So today, it looks like many of the industry's best opportunities can be all found under the same roof, each one offering, you guessed it, genuine relationships, real results. To learn more, visit redrooffranchising.com or call 888-473-8861. That's 888-473-8861. Tell them Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, Glenn Hausman here. Welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. I'm excited today because I got to tell you, when I first started my hospitality career, one of the coolest places for me to go was that first time I stepped foot into the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. It was something I'd never seen before. I'd never come in contact with such a freaking huge building that didn't have a casino attached to it. And I was absolutely blown away. And of course, I was there for the opening of what was then called the Delta Pavilion. It might have that same sort of name. And I got to tell you, it is unbelievable to me because that really set the stage for the future development of the company's growth. And to talk about where the company has gone, where the company is right now, and where they are planning to be, I have Mr. Michael Stengel, and he's the SVP of the Gaylord Hotel Brand with Marriott International. Michael, so amazing to have you here today. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Glenn, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad you started your first look at Gaylord at Opryland. It's a lot bigger today than it was in those days. It keeps growing every year, and we keep adding new great things to that property. Yeah.
And that property is so cool. But the one thing with that property is it didn't have that master plan. Because who would have known when they first built it, it would grow it to be such what it does. And that's why I love what the other properties are. It's kind of like that to me, maybe I'm wrong, Michael, but I feel like that Nashville place was kind of the testing zone for all the other properties. And of course, the other properties I'm referring to are the Gaylord Palms outside the Disney World Resort in the Florida, Orlando area. And I really like the Gaylord Texan as well. Those two properties, I think, best reflect the direction. And of course, then there is the Gaylord National and the recently opened one in the Colorado Rockies. And Michael, I got to tell you, I've been fortunate enough. I had 2 different speaking engagements in Denver, back-to-back, 2 different weeks, and I never had enough time to go and check out that gorgeous new property, but I did see it from the highway, and boy, does it look massive.
Well, thank you, Glenn. First, Opryland was built, I think, originally as a 600-room hotel. Right? Now it's several thousand rooms, and we keep adding on to. We just added something called Sound Waves, which is the most incredible water experience you've ever seen. Spent $100 million adding that on, and another atrium. You have to see it. It's spectacular.
Well, Michael, I got to tell you, I did see the beginning of the construction the last time I was there, but I think the time I was there was over a year ago. I had the good fortune to be speaking at Best Western Hotels' annual conference, which ironically was held in a Marriott property.
Yeah, they don't have a hotel right. big enough for their own conference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, I saw the construction happening then. I'm like, oh, wow, these guys are doing it again. Now, I want to be clear. I don't mean to besmirch the Opryland property. property for the way it is, but it is freaking confusing. Sometimes it's really fun to see how even the staff members get confused. But now you have a new wayfinding app over there, and that's of the past. Now I like Michael to I would like to be blindfolded, dropped anywhere in the Gaylord, and told how to find something there. And I bet I could do it, Michael. I am that confident.
Well, you said you saw the Gaylord Rockies riding by.
I did. Let's talk about that, all right? Because what a great new property that is. I'm already hearing great feedback on it. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the general basics of what's going on at that property, and we can get into a little more details. How big is it? How many rooms, square foot of meeting space, all that massive stuff.
Sure. Well, you can see it from, there's thousands of flights that land in Denver, and every flight goes by, points and said, what is that? Because it sits out there not too far from the airport.
Right.
I think 60,000 acres is that piece of land, and we only have about 300 of the acres, but it's, that 60,000 acres almost the size of Washington, D.C., and one day it's all going to be filled up.
Right.
But today it's filled up with the Gaylord Rockies, and we are excited. We opened in December, a soft opening. It's 1,500 rooms. We're already working on an addition for the hotel. It's not big enough. And it's 450,000 square feet of meeting space. It has 9 restaurants and bars. It has a bunch of unique things. We bought Gaylord in 2012, and we've learned a lot about the brand and what customers want. And we took a lot of customer suggestions on what we needed to do to make this hotel even better than, and add to the ambiance of the building. And so we've taken a lot of that into this hotel. We have some really cool technology, as well as things that customers really wanted that we built into this building.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the state of the meetings business and how your hotels, your growing portfolio of these properties kind of reflect that trends that you're seeing out there. So right now, let's just start with real basically, how has the opening been going at the Gaylord Rockies, and what's business like for all of these groups coming in?
So the Rockies opening, we didn't actually book any groups in Rockies intentionally until February, even though it opened December. So really? In the beginning, it was all leisure transient. Really, a lot of the people from the neighborhoods and the surrounding areas came in, stayed in the hotel, used the water park, ate in the restaurants, and they got hammered in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the opening of the hotel, with everyone wanting to come in and see the hotel.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now we're starting to stabilize with our group business coming in. The unique thing about this hotel, we had almost 1.2 million room nights on the books the day before we opened, which is more room nights on the books than any of the 7,000 hotels we have in the entire company.
Wow!
Before it opens,
I think,
really,
Michael,
really strong.
When you opened up the Gaylord Palms, and I think this was before Marriott bought Gaylord, right? I believe they had about 1 million room nights before that opened. I just seem to remember that statistic. Hey guys, don't flame me if I'm wrong out there in the listening audience, but I remember getting a great tour before that opened. I think that was the number that they told me, because I was so impressed by it. But that is an insane amount of business.
What's great about the rooms that this hotel's booked is 80% of the business that was booked in Rockies has never been to the state of Colorado before. Woo! So it really, when we told the Aurora community that we would be bringing new business, that we wouldn't be pilfering business from the Denver or the Aurora area, is that really came to be true. And now the overflow business, the out of the room spend in the marketplace is really, everyone in Aurora is excited. And even Denver, Denver's starting to warm up and getting excited about the property as well, because they see the opportunity for business that's coming to town that wasn't here before.
Yeah, because I remember, Michael, in my learning process of getting to know this brand over the last number of years, I recall it being a very strong brand strategy to say, hey, we're going to get in X event this year at the Opryland, and then the year after they could go to Texas, then they could go to Orlando. Then the year after that, now they can go to the Rockies, and maybe one day they'll be able to go to that San Diego property that's been on and off the books for a lot of years. Yeah. So that to me sounds like it's a very strong, distinct strategy that you work with your convention goer partners in order to enact.
Yeah, it's our rotation strategy is the strongest in the meetings industry, where we rotate from city to city. What Gaylord's model is that's so unique that, when we bought the company, we thought, okay, well, we bought a big Orlando Marriott World Center kind of hotel, but we didn't. We bought convention centers that have resorts attached to them, and they fall above hotels but below convention centers. So people who are looking to, if you're trying to book a piece of business in a city convention center and you want to book it 3 or 4 years from now, and it's 1,000, 2,000 people, the city convention center will say, hey, we'd love to have that business, but we can't book it until it's within the 12-month window, which most convention centers will tell you. Where Gaylord, we put business on the books of that size every day out for the next 8 to 10 years. Wow. So there's you have confidence that you're going to have the space and the rooms to do your business, and everything's under one roof. So you don't have to, the best part of meetings at a Gaylord is the networking piece, which is really important, is you don't all leave the convention center at the end of the day and go to your 15 different hotels.
Right.
Here you leave your meeting and you hit all the bars and restaurants and lobby and you're networking the entire time. And a lot of groups don't want to be in convention centers, and most hotels aren't big enough to take them. So we fall into that niche right between the big hotels and right between convention centers, and that's what Gaylord does best.
Yeah, and as far as an event goer, I really prefer to have it at a facility as opposed to a conference hall. I like to, even if I'm walking the same amount of steps at the end of the day from the conference center back to my hotel, and I'll just use Orlando as an example. For example, the Orange County Convention Center, walking across to the now Hyatt, former Peabody property, right? I would still rather just stay at a hotel where everything is under the same roof. Psychologically, it's better to me. And I recall being at the National property just outside Washington, D.C., for the folks who don't know where it is. And I was at the AHOA event last year, and what I really liked about it is exactly what you said, Mike. When I finished with my events for the day, I walked right over to the sports bar, and I got to hang out with thousands of my closest friends, all packing that whole entertainment region you have with the Jack Daniels Club and all of that stuff over there.
Yeah, I know that piece of business. They do a terrific job of the noise in the lobby during that group is deadening.
So, I think that's pretty cool that you've got that rotation strategy, and I think it offers a nice change of pace from those groups that go back over and over and over again to the Las Vegas or the Orlando Convention Center market, that you guys could really rotate everybody. What is the overall state of your brand right now? What are you thinking about as you're getting this Colorado Rockies property ramped up?
Well, Gaylord has had, in the last 3 years, have been 3 record-setting years for the brand since it's been created, and each year keeps getting better. The groups business is very strong, especially for the markets that we're in, the association and corporate business, and we have to continue making them bigger and better. And define what customers really want as we move forward. And right now, we're working on a brand new project in Chula Vista, right outside of San Diego. And with any luck, we'll break ground sometime by the end of this year or beginning of next year. And that hotel it's on a smaller footprint, so it will be around the same size in rooms and meeting space, but it will be a lot taller, similar to National Harbor, because of the footprint we sit on.
That's cool. So what is it that meeting groups are looking for right now when it comes to a resort attached to a convention center, as you put it, for their overall experience, from meeting productivity towards their attendees really just having a place to hang out and enjoy themselves?
Yeah, a couple key things that we did at the Rockies that is what meeting planners wanted is, one is we, instead of having a 150,000 square foot exhibit hall, which is got pillars and cement, you can drive trucks in there, they want a place where you can feed people that are in the exhibit hall. So what we did at the Rockies is we took 60,000 square feet of the exhibit hall and took out the pillars and made it into a ballroom. And you can still use it as exhibit hall, but what we find groups will do is they have their exhibits on one side, and then they go into the 60,000 square foot ballroom for meetings and presentations and lunch and meals. And then the other thing they want proximity of breakout space. So every single ballroom at the Gaylord Rockies has its own defined breakout space. You could have 800 room groups in that hotel, and all three of them wouldn't see each other all day. Which
is great, because I hate to have like group envy when I see other groups and they look like they're having more fun than me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing too is that pillarless space is important. Having a natural light into the ballroom space and to the pre-function area is really important. Not below ground meeting space is what people are looking for.
Right.
I think the other thing is we did at Rockies is we have all the pods at the front desk are portable, so they look like they're permanent. Mm-hmm. But if a group has the whole hotel and they've all checked in, there's no need for a front desk.
Right.
And that we can use that 60,000, 70,000 square foot lobby for other events. So we can unplug the front desk and put it up against the wall like a piece of furniture. Huh. And use the lobby for receptions when you couldn't do that before because the front desk got in the way.
That's pretty cool.
That was one innovation we did there. The other thing we did at the Rockies I thought was the coolest thing is, if you go into these big giant hotels, you got to have a big giant breakfast restaurant.
Right.
But no one eats in the breakfast restaurant after breakfast.
That's right.
So we designed something. We got this idea we built this hotel in China, and we built something called the Goji Kitchen, mm-hmm. which after breakfast, the entrance closes, a little gate in a garden out front opens, and two other entrances open up. The buffet disappears. The breakfast buffet disappears behind a beautiful wooden wall. The lighting changes. The doors close between two spaces. And at the end of the day, in 20 minutes, we convert the restaurant into an Italian restaurant and to an Asian restaurant. So now the breakfast restaurant disappears. There's two bars, because if you're going to have a specialty restaurant, you have to have a bar for people. And you would not know that the breakfast restaurant was there once you've seen the conversion. So that has worked brilliantly since we've opened the Rockies. Those two restaurants are doing more covers at nighttime combined than any one of our 700-seat breakfast restaurants that open breakfast, lunch, and dinner today are doing today. So that experiment's working, and we're looking at doing that in more hotels where we can have the opportunity to, one is to offer different cuisines and also offer more specialty restaurants and more choices.
So that makes me think of two things, Mike. Number one, it's kind of reminiscent of when the Wynn Encore Resort first opened. They had a restaurant called Switch, and it would change the decor and thematics at the beginning. While that didn't prove, too practical for them in Las Vegas, what you're talking about really hits the trends that we're seeing in the wider hospitality scene. The whole notion that you've got this space that is otherwise going to go unused throughout the day. So how do you activate it? How do you make it something that can make you more money in those other day parts? And I think you really hit right on that. And for folks listening to this that don't happen to own their own Gaylord Hotel, then you can incorporate these ideas into your footprint that you have right now. So really, really clever stuff there, Mike. Anything else that you're really excited about at the Denver property in particular?
Yeah, I think we built a gigantic marketplace there, and the marketplace is open breakfast, lunch, and dinner, takeout foods, coffee, a ton of different things in that market space. And those have become more and more popular for grab and go for our convention folks that come to the hotel. Yep. But the leisure side of it is really, really important because the before and after meeting business is really strong. So if you're going to Denver, you probably may want to go skiing afterwards. So we, if you see the beautiful gift shops we put in this hotel, there's a lot of gifts that, hey, I didn't want to carry my ski coat with me, but I can buy one.
Yeah.
And we also have a spectacular spa and indoor water park so you can bring your family while you're in the meeting. Your family can enjoy some of the leisure pieces of the hotel. We have a bike trail that goes for hundreds of miles from off of our property into the mountains and we give the guests bikes that they can go off and do that. So it has a big leisure component, which I think came out really, really strong.
Well, that's exciting. So, are you feeling that you're going to be able to get a lot of, leisure guests that are coming that are from outside the area? And conversely, my guess is you're probably going to be attracting a lot of the community to the resort as well. I know some of the other properties, for example, have really staked a claim with doing stuff around the holidays with the ice and stuff like that. So you're probably planning stuff like that as well.
Well, we're planning for a big grand opening for ice in November at Rockies, but we're also doing a whole Christmas in Colorado program with additional surprises and shows and light show outside, and really blow this thing up and most of the people that come to that are the 3 or 4 hour drive time around the Rockies. We think we'll get a lot of business and make this a new family tradition for Denver. The other part of the business that there's 2 other pieces of leisure transient business that we had not counted on, but anticipated some, was the pre and post ski business from around from out the Denver airport. What happens is if you land in Denver in nighttime, you are not driving up to those mountains at night.
No.
It's dangerous. So what people are doing, and we saw that this winter, is they come and they stay in the hotel. They spend the whole day there. They use the water park, and then they drive out before it gets dark to get to the mountains the next day. Or on their way back, they'll drive in the morning, check into the hotel, use all the facilities, and then fly out the next morning. So we're getting that pre and post ski business. And then the other thing we're getting airport business. Denver airport closed down a few weeks ago for the fourth time in the history of the airport. And we had over 1,000 rooms that we picked up within an hour. So
how many?
That's business we never counted on either.
Say that number again. How many did you pick up?
We had a slow day. We only had 300 rooms in the hotel, and within an hour we picked up 1,000 rooms.
Oh my God. That's a great relief for you guys, and even better relief for the travelers who are just able to pop on.
Yeah, because there's not a ton of hotels out there near the airport. When you have weather issues, having a big resort that close by really makes it less painful for the customers who get stuck in the airport.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Really interesting. So how many more of these can you have? I know you're talking about San Diego hopefully hitting ground, but can you have more than 6? Can you have 10 of these in North America?
I think eventually we'll have around 10 of them in the United States. You really need to place these strategically. One is they need to be in secondary cities, not primary cities.
Absolutely.
Because the secondary city wants to be a primary city, and they want to be able to have their own convention center, and they can't afford to do it on their own. So giving us, tax opportunities to do it is what makes it work, right? So we think that there's probably 3 or 4 more locations in the United States, and maybe there's even a possibility to convert an existing hotel into a Gaylord with the right bones and the right expansion opportunities. But and then as we look, people say, well, will you go international? Well, we think that eventually it's possible. The international community doesn't have the kind of conventions that we do in the U.S. yet, but they're getting there.
Right.
I mean, putting one of these in Shanghai or Hong Kong.
That's the first name on the list. I was thinking Shanghai. And if you had the casino element, Singapore, but, I think there's already one company that's kind of doing that. But, yeah, I think you guys are going to go to Shanghai at some point. And I'm sitting around, I'm thinking about what other U.S. cities we could go to, and I'm thinking you already said secondary, but it also has to have a strong airport to get people in and out.
Yeah,
plus
that's right.
Some considerable land near the airport because you don't want to have them travel a lot farther. I'm thinking about what you did with both in Colorado and also in Texas outside Dallas. So this is interesting. I'd be curious for all the listeners out there, what cities do you think that they could go into? Let's maybe crowdsource some stuff for you, Mike, in case you don't already know, but I know you already know.
Well, we look at outside of Phoenix, outside of Seattle, outside of Chicago, outside of New York. Those are all prime, and those are all prime locations.
Outside New York, interesting. I say make a deal with the folks over at the Meadowlands, grab some space over there. That would be absolutely perfect for you guys.
Well, New York has been dying. I was on the board of directors of the Javits Center for 10 years. Yep. And the one problem we had at the Javits Center is the Javits Center doesn't have any meeting space.
Right.
And so they turn down more business than they take, and they run 90+% occupancy. And New York has been dying for a secondary convention center for years. They've tried to build it 2 or 3 times. It's never happened.
Right.
And so we think that if we were outside the city, proximity to the airports, great location to get into the city through transportation, would be a home run in that marketplace.
Well, I think one great place to be, and I know Resorts World couldn't get it going, but over at Aqueduct Racetrack, there was some talk at some point about building a convention center over in that area, which for those listeners who don't know, literally across the street from JFK, couldn't be more convenient if you tried. Plus, has some amenities already there. So that's all right. So that's kind of my guess on what's going on. So I think any other issues that you think that we should be talking about what you're thinking about on a day-to-day basis? I mean, one thing that strikes me is that you've got to fill up a whole lot of space all the time. That's got to be a pretty stressful kind of a gig to think about your team doing that.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, when you add up all of the meeting space that we have as a company in the United States, we have 45% of the meeting space in the U.S. now.
Oh, my God. Seriously?
With all of our convention and resort networks, because I run the convention and resort network business for Marriott too. And we continue to, if you look at all the big boxes that have opened in the last several years, the Marriott Marquis in Chicago, the Marriott Marquis in Houston, the Gaylord Rockies, we're working on building the Drew in Las Vegas, which is going to be an enormous 500,000 square foot of meeting space, 8.5 million square feet building, and that opens in 22, and that will be the first time we have a hotel big enough to rotate into Las Vegas, because right now the Cosmopolitan does a great job, but it only has a couple 100,000 square feet of meeting space. So we lose business when it goes to Vegas to our competitors and outside of our brand. So, but if you look at the amount of meeting space we control in the U.S., we have to do a great job of being consistent and taking care of the customer and offering the great value. Yep. But also we have the availability and space in just about every market in the country.
Yeah, that's great. Also, huge fan of the Cosmopolitan. I think they've done a great job creating something over there and continue to reinvent themselves in some spectacular ways. Now the other property that you were referring to, the Drew, for that was the property that was supposed to be the Fountain Blue, but had gone by the wayside in the Great Recession. So now that the Las Vegas Convention Center decided not to go ahead with building that convention space right on the Riviera place, so that they turned it into a parking lot, I think that opens up some more opportunity for the Drew and the JW and the other brands that are going to be in there to really do great with convention business. All right.
Actually, the convention center is in the middle. They're in the construction right now,
of
building
a different
their expansion,
right? But there's an expansion to an expansion that they're not going to do now, or something like that, right? But they are doing one major expansion.
Yeah, the first expansion is right next door to the Drew, and then when that's finished, we'll have a bridge that connects to the hotel, and then they'll go back in and do the old convention center, restore that.
Right, beautiful. All right, Mike, any final thoughts here on Gaylord or where Marriott in general is going to be headed in terms of the meetings universe?
Meetings is such an enormous part of our business. Even some of our courtyard hotels have meeting space, and we one of the things that as a company, we now have 118 hotels in our convention resort network. And the thing that's worked real well with the network is make sure that there's a lot of synergies amongst the 118 hotels, because those 118 hotels are the biggest and most revenue producing hotels in the United States. And by having them working together, sharing best practices, rotating business, making sure that we're doing a great job of handing one group to the next hotel seamlessly. Those are all things that make a difference to the customer. And I think that, we continue to do a great job at getting better and better at the consistency on that part. So I think network has gotten so much stronger in the last couple of years, and we'll continue to do. We do all of our customer events for the network now, and it gives the opportunity for our biggest customers to get exposed to our best hotels.
All right. So out of all 5 properties that you have, what is the smallest size meeting you can do, and what's the largest size meeting that you can do?
So, believe it or not, the average size piece of business that goes into a Gaylord is about 400 rooms. Mm-hmm. It sounds small, but in reality, we do a lot of 1,000-room plus groups.
Yeah.
But 400 rooms is kind of the sweet, 400 to 600 rooms.
Uh-huh.
We can do meeting. We have places in hotel like Opryland. We have this beautiful little conference center that I can do a 10-room group, never see anyone else. Got your own coffee break area, got your own waiters taking care of you in that same space for lunch, never have to come out of there, and never know that you're in a 3,000-room hotel.
Wow.
Or we can do, we just had 30,000 people this past weekend at Opryland for the a national cheerleading competition. 30,000 people were in the hotel. So we can do lots of, there's so much variation in size of business that the sky's the limit when it comes to the various size of business that we can.
That's absolutely incredible. So Mike, at the end of every interview, I like people to give a good shameless plug. I think you've done a good job so far of that, but how can people learn more about Gaylord Hotels if they want to engage you guys?
Yeah, I think going on to the Gaylord website, going on to the Marriott Convention and Resort website, you can there's lots of content, lots of pictures, and we just added 300 more rooms and 80,000 square feet to the Texan, and we made the water park bigger there. We just added that Sound Waves at Opryland. It's an outstanding leisure venue, must see. The Gaylord Palms has 300 rooms and 75,000 square feet of meeting space under construction that are being built to add on. And we're going to double the size of the water park there. We just got a lot of great things going on around the brand. And this holiday season, I think is going to be one of the more spectacular ones we've had.
That's excellent. Well, much congratulations. I was at the Gaylord Texan last April, and I felt like it was mere minutes away from you opening the addition because it looked like everything was in place. All the construction walls were coming down, and there was just like you just couldn't go there. But I was so wanting to see it so badly. I almost snuck in. I'm glad I didn't because I probably would have gotten in big trouble with you.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
A pleasure. And thank you as well. And all the positive things you say about the industry is really helpful for us.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Be sure to find me at Traveling Glenn. And of course, you can find us online, novacancynews.com. Get our No Vacancy podcast on iTunes and wherever else you get your shows, as well as our other shows, including Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, which I do with Hotel Impossible host Anthony Melchiori, the Hotel Tech podcast, the Hotel Design podcast, the Business of Hotel podcast. And of course, don't forget to see me hosting on HereToStay.tv, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to go to the Gaylord Opryland and I get lost in that massive new water park. See you guys soon.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.